What's up, everybody? Welcome to Just a Little Salt, the podcast hosted by me, the Salty Paramedic. If you or anybody you know wants to be on the show, make sure to send a request to justalittlesaltpodcast@gmail.com. If you want to support the podcast and the work I'm doing for first responders, it's easy. Go on the saltyparamedic.com. Everything there, books, merch, resources, is built around this community. If you're looking for bonus episodes or content you're not going to hear anywhere else, make sure to join the Patreon. Go on patreon.com and search the Salty Paramedic. That support directly helps me keep bringing this content to life. Without further ado, thanks for listening. Here's the show. How's everybody doing? This is a very special episode of Just a Little Salt. If y'all have been listening at any point in time, I've always interviewed someone else. In this episode, I'm interviewing myself. I just want to, give the listeners a little bit of history of those who don't know my public service background, how long I've been doing it, a little bit about the family, not too much, just personal stuff. Want y'all to get a little glimpse inside me. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to read through some questions. I'm going to answer them to you guys. And once again, thank you all so much for listening. Please drop a 5-star rating if you like the podcast. Make sure you're following wherever you're listening. And without further ado, here's the episode. Starting off. Sorry, it's like 10 at night. I decided I want to do this right now. I want to get it done and posted. Talking about my origin story, man. The Salty Paramedic origin story. But first off, to understand the Salty Paramedic, you got to understand what made me want to get into public service in the first place, And there's a lot of reasons, but the main reason, which I'm sure you know if you watched the episode I did with my dad was a big reason. I've always wondered if he wasn't a firefighter, if I wasn't around the fire department growing up, would I have wound up doing this in the long run? It's all I knew. It was excellent being around the firehouse. It was tons of great role models, seeing the things those guys did growing up. I never wanted to do anything different. So with that in mind, at the age of 15, I became a junior firefighter. I started being able to go on certain types of calls. I couldn't go on structure fires or anything, go to trainings, get some certifications down. And then at the age of 18, I volunteered for like a few months until I left for college. I got a bachelor's degree in fire protection administration. That's where I met my wife, but we'll go into that further later on in the podcast. But I'm straying off topic, but this first question was, what made you want to get into public service in the first place? In quick summary, it was my father. He was a firefighter growing up. It was all I knew. That's what got me into it in the first place. And a lot of things along the way kept me in it. So I'll get into that as well. Sorry, I'm burping. Burps are allowed on the podcast. All right. What was your first day like on the job? So continuing on, after college, I ended up getting hired on my career department in 2016. I've been there almost 10 years now. First day on the job was crazy because, I'd been around the fire service all my life, but to be a career firefighter and start out as a traditional probie as opposed to, I was a junior firefighter and past volunteer. It was a totally different atmosphere, and the station I was at, they weren't known for being nice, man. They put me through the ringer. I hate to sound that way, but if these new guys now went through what I went, they wouldn't be able to handle it. I strongly believe that because those guys put me through hell, but it was for good reason. I learned a lot. I built up. I don't know how to phrase it. Not a lot of things bothered me because of what I went through. And I'm not talking about like hazing, there wasn't anything like that involved, but I had very, very thick skin, after that probationary year. But I owe those guys at that first station a lot of how I ended up because I don't know. It was a good station to be at, good group of guys. I'm very, very thankful for that. But that first day on the job, they found out I was a cook at Logan's Roadhouse in college. So I grilled some ribeyes and good dinner. And I ended up staying at that station for a while because of that. I think the first 7 years of my career before I got promoted, I stayed at that station. But moving on. What's something about being a paramedic that people would never expect? Man, one thing I didn't really expect, because growing up, I was around medics when I was on these calls, and I was like, man, the biggest thing that threw me off was like, I don't want to be a medic because I don't want to start IVs. That looks terrifying. I don't know why it terrified me at the time, but the biggest thing that I didn't expect was the type of decisions you have to make in the most crazy circumstances because, it can be 3 in the morning. You can be way out of your district, with a group of county firefighters that are, barely EMTs, and you're the only medic on scene, and there's some crazy medical stuff going on, and you're half asleep, and you have to dig through your brain to try to make the right decision and own that decision. It's something that, just being young, I didn't really realize the weight that's put on you as a medic, especially in those solo instances. But, you learn from it, you grow. So it's cool. But next question, who is your biggest influence early in your career? I mean, I don't want to keep referencing my dad, man, but he was. I saw the way that, because he was a captain and then he ended up retiring as an assistant chief, but I saw the way he treated a lot of his guys when he was a captain at a station. So that was a real big influence. I'm actually able to test it for captain this year at my department. So I think that's my end goal at my department. I've got this social media thing on the side. I just don't have time. I don't want to push any farther. I think captain is where I want to stay, but he was a very, very big influence. Just the way I saw he treated his guys, the way he came home and he was for his family. It was just, I've said it and I'll say it again, very, very big influence in my career. What's a mistake you made early on that shaped you? Man, let me tell you, I made a lot of mistakes. I still make mistakes. And for anybody that don't own their mistakes, they're not doing good for themselves because, too many times have I seen people that will make mistakes and then they'll try to blame it on others or won't own up to it. And man, everybody makes mistakes. But what's one mistake that I made early on that shaped me? Saying things that come to mind is just, that very first year. I got my EMT and I got my medic like back to back. Like I was only a solo EMT before I went to medic school for 2 months. So I didn't really have a lot of time on the ambulance. I didn't have a lot of time to learn to be an EMT. So there was just a big learning curve there. Like I made a lot of mistakes about, uh, just learning how to be a good EMT, essentially, like knowing what your medic needed when your medic needed it, because a medic's only as strong as his EMT. When did you realize this career was more than a job? So my first year when I got my medic, it was insane because I think we got like 4 or 5 saves in that year, like my crew, when I was like riding the ambulance. And it hasn't happened again since then. It was just a lucky year, I guess. But when I was able to shake that first man's hand that walked out of the hospital after we got him back and he wasn't, breathing or didn't have a pulse, I realized that it's more than just a job because you can truly make a difference. And it doesn't have to be something as big as that. I say it all the time, you help old ladies up into bed. You talk to them when they're lonely. It's more than a job because you make a difference in different ways every shift. So let's see, this section says fire EMS reality questions. What's the hardest call you've ever had to process? I talk about this a lot in my book, Don't Lose Yourself. It was a pediatric cardiac arrest. I'm not going to go, real in depth. I do in my book, but it was essentially, an infant, and we didn't get him back, and it messed with me more than anything. I think the big reason was because my son at the time was around that age, so that's probably been the hardest one. But moving on to this next question to break the ice, what's the funniest on-duty moment that still makes you laugh? Man, I have so many, especially with those first group of guys I was with at that first station, because we all played pranks on each other, and I can't remember why this guy did this to me, but he was getting me back for something I did to him. I can't remember what I did to him, but I left my truck unlocked, and that man put a Tupperware of fish, like cooked fish, underneath my seat. And this was in the middle of summer. And I went home and I didn't start smelling it because I don't think I drove my truck the next 2 days I was off. I didn't smell it till the next shift I was back, and it smelled horrible and I couldn't figure it out. And finally they told me. So it took a while to clean the scent out of my truck, man. It was always something. And that's what I love about the firehouse, all the pranks and all the jokes, and all those guys, we were able to take jokes. So that makes it fun. Sometimes we get to those stations and people don't like to joke around. So you got to tiptoe, but that was always cool. What's something you wish young medics knew before starting? So I'm going to go off on a little tangent right here. All right. I was a frontline medic for 6 or 7 years before I got promoted. I've seen too many medics come in and do it for the wrong reason. They're just doing it for the money or for the, looking better for promotions. But they, especially on fire and EMS departments, they expect not to have to ride the ambulance. They expect not to have to do the job they signed up for. And you can truly tell they don't want to be a paramedic to its core. And it's really frustrating, because that trickles down into, the patient care and everything else. And that's the thing that frustrates me the most. And I wish more medics knew that, like, hey, this is what you signed up for. If you don't want to do it, then don't sign up for it. Stay a damn EMT, Anyway, what's the call that changed me the most? Man, I mean, going back to that, cardiac arrest, that changed me the most mentally. I realized, because up to that point nothing had bothered me, so I realized that I wasn't not able to be broken. I would say that is let's see here. Have you ever doubted staying in a public service? Yes, after that call. And I'm sorry I keep referencing that call, but I talk about it in my book. That that was the only call where I truly was like, hey, I don't know if I want to keep doing this. I'm glad I was able to overcome it, and I'm still doing it, obviously. But what keeps you coming back to the station? And a million things keeps me coming back to the station. There's so many things good about working at a fire department and EMS. There's also a lot of bad things, but some of the things that keep me coming back is camaraderie. The guys and girls you work with, you live with them, it depends on what shift you work, 24, 48 hours, every couple days. You're eating, you're sleeping with them, and being with the right crew, having that camaraderie is just huge. And I'm lucky right now. I got a good station. I'm excited to come to work every third day, and that makes a huge difference. What keeps me coming back to is the runs. Not all the runs, not all the calls. All the frequent lift assists and the bullcrap med run. No, it's I enjoy the job, and it keeps me coming back because every day is different. Some days suck, obviously, but you're always doing something different, whether it be, you might show up and you have a PR event, and then you have a structure fire. The next day you might show up and you might have a wreck, and you might have to go do some, training, some kind of training somewhere, something unique. So it's always different, and it breaks up the monotony. So that is definitely what keeps me coming back. Talking about this section is called just mental health, and talking about, the book, Don't Lose Yourself. For those listening that don't know, last year I wrote 2 books. I published 2 books. And to say that I'm still in disbelief, that was able to happen. It just kind of happened. The idea for the first book, Don't Lose Yourself, I'd had for a few years. Like I said, I've been doing this since 2007. I've seen a lot of different personalities. I've seen a lot of people in the service that was broken, not being able to handle the things that are a part of the job. And eventually, it breaks them. It breaks apart their families, their career, everything. So I wanted to write a book about my experiences, things that I utilize in my life to maintain good mental health. I don't tell a lot of people this, but I'm going to tell the podcast now because I'm always transparent. And it kind of blows my mind that I actually did this. But the book, Don't Lose Yourself, which it's sold over 10,000 copies, man, self-published right now. Thank you, everybody who has bought the book, has, gave it around at your department, everything like that. But I came home one day and I wrote the entire book in one day. Me and my wife, I got done at like 10 that night. We read it and she edited and picked out some typos. And then I submitted it for publication the next day. And it was just surreal, man, the outreach. Like, I've got people from a bunch of different countries that I don't even know where the countries are, but shout out all of you guys. Like, they're like, I'm from so-and-so country. I was like, I don't even know where that's at. And they're like, I've checked out your book. I love it, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, so the outreach is insane. The feedback's insane. People's telling me that they never read books, but they've read this book, multiple times because it's helped them out each time. So the book, Don't Lose Yourself, which is the first one, I've actually got it right here. I'll show you guys. The book, Don't Lose Yourself, which is the first one, literally has changed my life. It's, that's all I can say is it's changed my life. And, it's changed other people's lives if what they're telling me is true in messages. So I'm so thankful for it. But regardless, sorry about the tangent. When did you first realize mental health and first responders wasn't talked about enough? Probably younger, around my dad's department, just witnessing divorces and people messing up their careers and everything. So even as a young kid, I could tell something wasn't right there. And I talk to my dad a lot even now, and he's saying, the shift from then to now about departments talking about mental health is huge, because they used to never talk about that. What does "don't lose yourself" really mean to you personally? I just talked about that. It means everything to me. It means the world to me. This book right here, I'm able to do talks. I've been traveling around the country doing speaking engagements on the book and what I teach inside it. And it just, man, being able to go around and talk to people from different parts of the country and things they've gone through, it's opened up like so many different thoughts in my mind. And I've learned so much from people, so it means so much to me personally. How has being open changed your life? Being open has changed my life more than you all know. As you all know, I started the Salty Paramedic page a little over 2 years ago, and I'm going to talk about like my childhood and stuff. I was always a happy kid. I had a great childhood. Don't get it twisted. I didn't have some traumatic childhood or anything like that. I had wonderful parents, a wonderful family. I was a very quiet kid though. I had some friends, but some tight friends, but I wasn't a very extroverted individual, which is crazy to say, because I put myself out there to social media and I make videos every day and I go out and do public speaking engagements now. And looking back at that young kid and me now, man, it's unreal how this page has changed my life, because it's changed me as an individual. Because if you had told that young kid that, hey, you're going to be going out on stages in front of hundreds of people and talking to them, I would have thrown up right there. I would have vomited all over the place, because even like at the thought of going and talking in front of 5 people terrified me. This has changed my life. This has changed me as an individual. I'm so thankful for the opportunities it's given me, the voice it's given me. That's why I'm trying to do these books, these podcasts, these speaking engagements, trying to shift the culture into a positive direction, because I'm lucky to have a voice. I'm lucky to have the followers I do. So I want to continue to use it for good. And if I ever get to the point where y'all feel like I'm being an asshole or not using it for good, please tell me, because I don't want to, to quote The Dark Knight Rises, isn't it? You either die a villain, or you either die a hero, or you live long enough to see yourself become the villain. Sorry, I butchered that, but you know what I mean. Moving down to family life. How has this career impacted your family? It's impacted my family just as much as it's impacted anyone's family that's in the fire service. I've missed Christmases. I've missed certain holidays, certain school events with my children, but at the same time, been present and I've made a honest effort to be present as much stuff as I can. They all realize that, and they're all thankful for that. My wife, man, she's a rock star. Like from day one, she's known what she signed up for, and she's always been supportive of everything I've done, including the social media thing. So, which she has her own social media now. If you're not following her, go follow the Salty Wife. She's also hilarious. But anyway, yeah, I think it's just generally impacted my family just like anyone else's, and they're all, my kiddos, they're all super strong, and they realize, why I'm at work and gone for 24 hours at a time. And honestly, I think it makes us all, our bond stronger, because it makes us miss each other more being gone that long. So I say we've handled it pretty well. What does your spouse think about your social media presence? I think she's kind of like what I think of it. I'm still in disbelief, and especially when we go places and I get recognized, it blows her mind as well as mine. But as I've always said, I'm so thankful. What's the hardest part about balancing the job and home? Tell you what, it's harder to balance a social media thing than the fire department and home now, because that was my New Year's resolution this year, was to stop saying yes to everybody, because a lot of people reach out for me to help do things with this, this following. and I want to help everybody as much as I can. I want to do as much as I can, and I've got to learn to say no sometimes because I've got to make sure my family's number one and I have enough time dedicated for them. So that's something I've been working on. I've been telling people no. I'm sorry. I can't tell everyone yes, but I promise I make a honest effort to do everything I can on this platform. What kind of dad/husband do you try to be? Essentially, the dad and husband my father was, because he was an excellent role model. I've always said that. So for one, as a husband, I always want to be faithful. I always want to be someone that she can be proud to be married to. And then my children, I want to be an excellent role model. I want them to see their dad and be like, all right, he's worked his ass off to try to provide for his family. He's worked his ass off to try to be at every event for us, sporting event, schooling event, everything he can. I just want them to know that I truly care about them and I would do anything in the world for them. Have you ever brought the job home emotionally? Yeah. No, there's been a few tough calls and I just shut myself off. I don't want to talk to my family. I ignore my kids, and I've recognized that and I've tried to get better over the years. But at the same time, my wife realizes it and she kind of gives me space as needed. So, like I said, she's always been a rock star. All right, moving on. This section is talking about social media and building the brand. Building the brand known as the Salty Paramedic. Why did you start posting online in the first place? For those that don't know, I started this page in January of 2024. In the fire service, I was always known as the individual, the Photoshop guy, the meme guy. People would send me pictures and be like, hey, can you Photoshop this individual doing so and so and so? Yeah, no problem. I'd send it. I'd always make memes about certain situations that occurred at the firehouse. I'd send them to the group chat. And my daughter was born in December and I was on paternity leave. And I was like, I should start posting these online and just for fun. And so the name, the Salty Paramedic, popped in my head while we were still in the hospital with my daughter. And so I made the pages and I used ChatGPT for my very first logo. It did not look like me. It was just, I typed in paramedic with a mustache and it was dude with sunglasses. And he had one of the curly mustaches, which I've never had. But that was my first logo. And I started posting and the videos just took off, man. Cause I just started posting like memes and like I didn't include my face at all. And then like after I think a month or two, I started like doing my face a little bit. And then that's when I paid a guy to actually create a logo that looked a lot like me, which I'll show you this. I'm giving y'all some Salty Paramedic lore. This is the one he drew for me originally. And then, I kept doing it, which I can't show you the new logo. It's that one. Then I paid a guy named Fireline Design. Go check him out. That's my latest logo. He does excellent work. But yeah, it's that's kind of how it all happened. It was just blew up and it's just continued to grow and I'm just riding the wave. What was your first viral moment? To tell you the truth, I don't know. For those listening right now that would be interested in doing this, my best advice to you, which I mean, it's hard. For some reason, one of my stupid talents is having an infinite supply of ideas. So I kid you not, since 2 years ago, there's probably been some days I haven't, but majority of the time I've posted at least 5 videos a day for 2 years. And if you're wanting to do this, you need to try to post at least 1 to 3 a day, I would say, for at least 6 months, and to make sure you're in it. Because, once you get established, you don't have to post as much, obviously, but you really have to hammer out that content, I believe, unless you're making like long form content and, writing out your scripts and putting a lot of work, because you obviously can't post that many videos a day but I make short form videos. So in all actuality, it doesn't take me very long to make. And I've got a notes app on my phone. Anytime my idea pops in my head, I'm writing it down. I've got so many videos saved, and that's what I would recommend the most. So, did you ever think this is stupid? I should stop? No, because it's just kept compounding and compounding, and getting bigger. And I've never thought about stopping. I'm so thankful for the relationships I've made on here, the messages I've received, and I've probably had like 1 or 2 hate messages, but out of hundreds of good-hearted messages, I'll skim over the hate ones. What's the biggest misconception about being a content creator in fire EMS? Biggest misconception. I mean, I don't know if there's a misconception. I mean, my biggest thing, so this might not exactly answer the question, but a lot of people now where I'm doing a lot of stuff with this are like, when are you going to quit the fire department? I ain't going to quit. I ain't going to quit. I would be a phony. I would run out of material for videos, man. Um, so yeah, all those people ask me when I'm going to quit. I'm going to keep doing it till I retire. And then I can just be the salty retired paramedic. When did you realize this could become a business? Man, it took a while. If you're doing this for the money, you're doing it for the wrong reasons. I did it to make people laugh, and then money kind of just came. Like, obviously you can't make money from memes. Facebook has monetization programs, but you have to be invited and it takes a long time and you have to rack up a lot of views, and there's a lot of factors, but so that's when brand deals come in. The books I wrote, both books, which I didn't show you the second one. This one's the second one. It's my wife helped co-write it. It's on relationships for first responders and their spouses. But so I've written 2 books, so I get revenue off those. I self-published through Amazon. I've made a bunch of stickers now. I sell on my website, T-shirts, drink koozies, challenge coins, patches, and everything. It didn't happen overnight. So I've slowly added to the website over time. It's been a 2-year span. I say when I realized it could become a business would probably be when I published my first book and be like, all right, I can make money. I can help provide for my family and do something I enjoy. So that's the biggest thing, The second this becomes not fun anymore, I'm going to stop doing it. But I'm having a blast each and every day, so keep going. What was the scariest business decision you've made? Well, it's actually right now. If y'all don't know, if you're going to be at FDIC this year in April in Indianapolis, I'm going to have my own booth, and I'm going to probably be spending an ungodly amount of money in merch to bring to try and sell. So it'd be pretty embarrassing if I spend all this money and I don't sell a lot of merch and I'm just stuck with all this crap. So please buy merch if you're there. How do you deal with criticism and trolls? I ignore them for the most part. My wife doesn't know how I ignore them. She's like, how do you just, ignore somebody? I don't care. There are millions and millions of people on the internet. Everybody has their own opinion. Not everybody's going to like me, and that's fine. I've replied to a few people when I have something smart I like to say. Obviously I'm very good at that, but for the most part, I ignore them. Has your department always supported your online presence? Yes, for the most part. No, it's a fire department. It's a large group of guys, so they're going to rag on me about, you posting videos again. And there's been, there's been shifts where they've put my videos on full blast on the speakers in the work and everybody hears them. And then they, put the podcast up and they want to nitpick stuff. And it's just the name of the game. At the end of the day, I'm proud of what I've done, and I don't care about any haters. So if anybody, supporters, I'm thankful for them. But as far as haters go, I ain't got time for you. What's been your proudest salty paramedic moment so far? That's a very good question. I've got one I can't talk about yet. Hopefully you'll know about that in a few months. But proudest salty paramedic moment so far is, it's a general answer, but it's all the messages. My wife made me a binder of printed out DMs I've gotten on Instagram and TikTok and Facebook of people talking about how the book or how my videos have helped them, out of a bad space. And I can just open that book and read all of them. And she made that for me last year, which was so freaking cool. So the messages has got to be the proudest moment. What's the biggest failure you've had online? So this was a year ago, fell for some scam for a podcast appearance, and some dude hacked my Facebook and took control of it. And I had 250,000 followers, I think. So I had to make a new one, but now that one's got 400,000. So whatever. I was able to get the other one deleted. They don't have control of it anymore. Learn my lesson. All right. This next section is called entrepreneur/business side, which some of those are about the same questions. How do you manage time between full-time job and business? Well, my schedule at the fire department, I work a 24/48. For social media, I was in overtime. I worked a lot of overtime, and now I'm blessed. I'm able to make revenue off my books and everything. So I actually get the 2 days off with my family, which is crazy. But obviously my 2 days off, I do things for my social media because it's my business. So Usually the thing I do is as soon as I get home from shift, my kids will be in school, my daughter still sleeping. I'll come home, I'll pack book orders, anything else, challenge coins, patches, whatever. I'll get all those packed up to take to the post office, and then I'll also do that every night before I go to bed. That way I have everything ready to go to drop off in the post office in the morning. And then as far as videos go, uh, I will literally come home from shift and like film a few in my car sometimes. It'll take me like 10 minutes, or here at the desk, it'll take me like 10 minutes. And then I'm working on a third book right now. It's a horror novel about a paramedic. If y'all don't know, if you go to my website, you can see the cover. It's called Time of Death. I'm almost done with the second chapter. It's going to be significantly bigger than my other books. So I'm hoping to be done by December, but I'm really going to buckle down in March because I don't really have much going on in March to do that. But for the most part, I'm able to manage it pretty good, still devote enough time to the family and everything. 'Cause the online thing doesn't really take a lot of time for me, luckily. What's your long term vision for your brand? Man, people ask me this a lot, and I said it again. I'm just riding the wave. So many opportunities that's came forward from this I never would have dreamed of, never would have anticipated. So I don't really have a long term vision. It's continue doing what I'm doing, continue making videos, writing books. I love writing books. So I'll probably continue doing that. Love, going around the country and speaking. Hopefully I'll get to go, in other countries and speak eventually. Love to go to Australia or something one day. That'd be cool. But that's long-term vision, just to continue to grow the foundation that I've established. See, this last section, oh, there's two more sections actually. This next section is talking about the podcast. So what made you start your podcast? I was always interested in starting a podcast, but as far as the editing of it, I didn't really have time. So the Journal of EMS Gyms, they actually reached out to me and asked me to do a podcast with them. Like, I'd love to. I don't have time. They're like, well, how about if we edit it and you just find the guests and interview them? I'm like, cool. So it's been great. Shout out to Gyms. They've been awesome. I've started doing a few extra episodes because I normally just release one every 2 weeks, which are the ones they edit. But now I found a easier way to edit videos. It's not as clean as the ones they do, but it'll do. So I've started doing extra episodes just get the word out there about the podcast. Who's been your favorite guest and why? Man, I don't want to say favorite guest because they've all been good. I mean, everybody I've interviewed is so unique, and I'm so thankful to be able to talk to them, pick their brains. But one that I was very, very surprised to talk to was, one of the recent ones, the chief of New York City Fire Department. Arguably the biggest fire department in America, talking to the chief of it. Very, very thankful to be given that opportunity and just picking his brain and learning, how a chief officer and department that scale, operates. What's your dream guest? There's a few. There's a few. Obviously, Dennis Leary, Rescue Me. I love that show growing up. I would love to talk to him. He does a lot of things for fire departments through his foundation and everything. So maybe one day I can get a hold of him. That's probably the biggest one. What do you hope people feel after listening to your show? Uh, what do I hope they feel? Hopefully, just better. Just one word, better. I hope listening to my show, you can, find humor in some aspects. You can find knowledge in some aspects. That's why I try to get so many unique guests is I want you to learn something. I want you to learn someone else's point of view, someone else's knowledge, and just try to provide a type of podcast that a lot of other people aren't. So that's why I'm trying to get these unique guests and unique perspectives. So speaking of that, if y'all have anybody in mind you'd like me to interview, please message. All right. So these last questions are just little fun, lighter, salty questions was what they're called. What's the saltiest thought you've ever had on a lift assist? Saltiest thought. I mean, obviously, I've had lift assists where we've been 3 or 4 times on one shift and it gets old. But one time we had one and this lady farted on my gloved hand. So that was, I had a lot of salty thoughts then. If your career had a movie title, what would it be? As far as fire department career, I would say Gone in 60 Seconds, because looking back at it, man, it's unreal that, I've been on my career department 10 years now because it felt like I started yesterday. It goes by so quick. And when I talk to, these retired guys, it's sad to think, you're going to retire and you think that, this department, this big family, they're going to function without you. And that's the hardest thing to come to terms with is, they're going to keep on rolling and then you're going to just be a retired guy doing retired things. So that's probably what I'd say. Uh, let's see here. What's your go-to station meal? So I love to cook at the station. I've got a couple go-to meals that I love cooking, but the one that I like cooking the most that always slaps, I would say would be the chicken fried rice. Every time. Can't go wrong with that. If you weren't a firefighter paramedic, what would you be doing? Man, that's a good question. I'd like to think, I'd be an author, because I wrote books or a comedian or whatever, but those things are hard to do. Like my books wouldn't have sold a lot if I didn't already have an established following. I recognize that. So, uh, obviously, probably selling insurance or some shit. I'm so thankful I have the job I do. Is all I'm going to say. If you could go back and talk to rookie you, what would you say? It's not going to last forever, bud. That's what I would say. Just take a deep breath. No, it freaking sucks, but you're going to blink and it's going to be over. So just keep doing you, keep pushing, keep taking extra classes, keep learning, keep striving to do better, and it will all pay off, brother. What's the most ridiculous thing you've bought since starting your brand? I've never really been much to buy myself stuff, and I've bought a few things since, my brand just to kind of treat myself, which is, I still feel weird buying things, but just two things. I bought one thing today. I bought a Steam Deck. I'm getting into video games now, guys. I made a little purchase, little big boy purchase, got a Steam Deck. So I haven't bought anything huge, like a car or anything, but Steam Deck would probably be the most ridiculous thing I'd say. I don't know. Other that and a bunch of different energy drinks. Like I'll order like a bunch of energy drinks online that are like new flavors, like 12 packs of them. Are you actually as salty in real life as online? No. If you knew me in real life, I'm not salty. I can get salty. Okay. I take that back. Like I rode the ambulance yesterday and we had a long shift, a long night. I was a little salty, but for the most part, I'm a very, very happy individual and most of it's an act. What's one thing you're still insecure about? I mean, I would just say still talking public speaking, man. I mean, I'd like to think I'm getting better each time, but it's still hard to look out in that crowd and be like, well, shit, everybody's looking at me, everybody's listening to me. I hope I don't start stuttering, start, saying the wrong things. So that's probably gonna be it. All right, last question of this podcast of me interviewing me. I hope y'all have enjoyed it. When all is said and done, what do you want to be remembered for? That's why I'm so thankful that I have this social media thing because obviously, I can make a difference at my fire department, my career department in local individuals' lives and everything like that. But as far as a worldwide scale, I can touch individuals from, halfway across the globe. My books can touch individuals. My videos can touch individuals. So I want to be remembered, in the fire EMS space as someone that broke the stigma around mental health, helped people talk about it more. The guy that, provided videos that people at departments could laugh at, when they were having bad shifts. Hopefully when my boys are bigger and if they end up being a firefighter, they'll get on a department and they'll be like, that's my dad. That's that 60-year-old man. He's still making videos, and everybody's laughing. So hopefully that's who I can be remembered as. We'll see what happens. But regardless, thank you all so much for watching tonight. It's almost midnight, man. I wanted to get this podcast recorded. I hope you enjoyed listening. I've kind of rambled a little bit, but it's been a journey and I'm so thankful to be able to talk about it. So thankful for each and every one of you all. They continue to show up for me, continue to, comment on stuff, watch stuff, share stuff around. Thank you to everybody that's bought the merch, the t-shirts, the stickers, the books. It means more than you truly know. So if y'all have any ideas of future episodes, you all want future guests, if you want me to talk about certain topics, just interviewing myself again, please reach out and let me know. But regardless, once again, please give the podcast a 5-star rating if you enjoyed it. Please follow the podcast, and I will see you guys on the next one.